I'm like, something looks weird. It's been one of those days today.
The woman sitting behind Mrs. Arnold is Mrs. Dunn.
Oh, is that? Okay. So I should. Thank you. You're welcome. Sorry. It's been a crazy day today.
He owns this, and this. Yeah. Yeah.
Eventually, our home's all the way down where.
The problem is, they have a structure out here. That's not the picture that. It's wetland zone. That's the problem. It's all marked as wetlands.
No, it's actually.
Have you been out there?
Yeah.
I know.
I mean,
Yes. Yes. I was here then. I do remember that conversation.
but right now, it actually doesn't.
I'm doing good. Help yourself.
Good, thank you.
Got the right day for
I was
it,
like, nice day out there. We were just on the boat.
eh? We just got off it ourselves.
I was like, I gotta go to a meeting, hurry up.
I love to take in the scenery, but it's kind of disappointing because everything seems green still.
I know.
And
It's
so I
starting
said-
a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's going to take a little while yet.
Me too. I'm gonna get mine.
But it was a great day for boat riders.
It was.
Oh,
It was so nice out there. I was like, ah. I didn't want to come back.
yeah,
Hi.
I get talking to some real old timers who've been boating around here for like 40, 50 years. And I says, do you ever not get a buzz and a relaxation out of it? They said, nope, every day is different.
Right.
And it really is, isn't it?
It really is.
Well, they told me to keep it a secret, so I'm not supposed to say anything now.
It was.
How are you, Robin?
Pretty good. I'm a little disappointed you're leaving, but
Yeah, I just didn't think, I thought initially that I could attend with online and then the past, but it just wouldn't be fair to you folks, and I think attendance is so important that I hate to leave because I think you people are great.
well, you are. You're a big asset.
It was only okay because I had been before.
It's nice when you participate and you can see some progression, you know?
Where was he happy last week?
I'm sorry?
But when I left, it left the fairgrounds, it was 11 o'clock, it was packed like it was a jam. Anything, the lines were so long. Because I wouldn't stand in line to get a drink, you know. I always say, never on the weekend. And then what did I do?
Hello.
Okay. Commissioners. All right, folks. Going to turn on the microphones. I want to remind everyone, please speak into the microphones, whether you are an audience participant or a sitting commissioner, please. And Kelly, are you all set? Okay, and you're all set, Dawn?
Yes, I am.
Okay. All right, so I want to,
Meeting to order.
yeah, that's what I'm going to do.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm going to call this meeting to order of the Webster Conservation Commission on Monday, October 2nd, 2023, and at 5:38. And once again, just welcome everyone, and we're going to move right on here with this meeting is being recorded for purposes of note-taking, so just be aware, and also if you do need to take a phone call, please step outside of the room. The acoustics in here are pretty hard, so, and commissioners, please mute your phones. Thank you. All right, so old business, violation DEP number 323-1197. This is 0 Goddard Street, lots 1 and 2. This is Elijah Catola. Construction of 2 single-family houses continued from 9/25/23. I'm going to ask Dawn Portman, our staff, to give us just a quick update on this.
So I did email Mr. Catola requesting him to contact us, give us an update where things are at and how he plans on proceeding going forward, if he plans on hiring somebody. And as of half an hour ago, I have yet to hear back from him.
All right, so commissioners, Mr. Catola has not been responsive. As we know, Mr. Morrow has dropped Mr. Catola as his wetlands consultant. And so What I would probably recommend at this point is that we have a draft letter sent with the items that are left on the restoration, stormwater improvements, and so forth. And the next level that we usually do is to have it delivered by constable rather than through certified mail. So how does the board feel about that one?
What happened to their attorney that was coming on a weekly basis?
I'm sorry, what's that?
What happened to their attorney that was coming often?
She wasn't an attorney, that was the land, the realtor.
And,
Don't know. I mean, you know as much as I do.
okay,
But the consultant that was coming here, Mr. Morrow,
Yeah.
has dropped him because he's not even talking and communicating with Mr. Morrow. So
okay.
I just think that, we've tried once already with the certified mail. He's not accepting the certified mail. This has been habit with him. Mary was trying at one point to get him to accept the mail, and it wasn't until we sent a constable with the letter. So I think that it's probably time to up that, and then if we can't get anywhere with that, then we'll discuss it with probably town council, because this property, both properties are in violation, not even just within our jurisdiction. There's other violations with other departments too, so. Comments?
Can we make this letter in conjunction with other town departments as well? Just so we're all on the same page and the
Well,
next action is in unison as well?
I think that the letter for us, because there's jurisdictional overlays, the letter really should come from us, and if the rest of the other departments choose to send a letter or how they go about it, Ted and Ann and some of the other department heads. But ours, it's been clear since the beginning. We thought we were moving in the right direction, and I guess it's just not working out. So I think a draft letter going through the bullet points that I mentioned from last meeting. These are still outstanding with the town. We have attached the conditions to the deeds, and there is monetary value that is outstanding as well. It might not be a bad idea to check Ann's letter when Ann was acting agent, Don, and probably reference some of the items that are in there, the outstanding amount of money, and he really needs to get in touch with us.
Another point would be, do we want to make sure we, in the letter, point out all the boxes that need to be checked in order to move forward? So basically what we're looking for.
Yeah, that's what I mentioned from the last.
Yeah, all the bullet points that you mentioned from our last visit with
Yeah,
Matt
and I would
Morrow.
look at Matt Morrow's last, email as to what's outstanding, and those things translate to, it's not, the restoration hasn't been done, and, but, like I said, it's not just our department. This person's in hot water with several departments, so. All right,
Joe,
so
excuse me.
any,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
When this occurs, are the other parties in the town CC'd that are?
oh, yeah, yeah. I mean, the entire, when everything went downstairs and they took down the walls, and it's now like the building land use department, they all communicate, so. All right, so we know where we need to go with this, and I would definitely, I think we need the constable involved with this one for delivery, and we just need a motion on this, please.
I would make a motion that we seek a constable in order to provide a letter to the owner of 0 Goddard, Lot 1 and 2, designating the what we're seeking to have completed as part of the agreement.
Okay. So Commissioner Parent with the first, and do we have a second?
I second.
Commissioner Jewell with the second, and a roll call. Commissioner Foley,
Abstain.
Commissioner Jewell,
Yes.
Commissioner Camerado,
Yes.
Commissioner Parent,
Yes.
and Commissioner Shivers,
Yes.
Commissioner Sharon. Yes. Commissioner Wigglesworth is a yes. Not used to having 7 people. I gotta go right down the line here. All right, so next up, request for an extension of an enforcement order, DEP number 323-1194. This is 67 Colonial property, David Arnold, the owner, on enforcement, continued from 9/25. And could we have either Mr. Arnold and your representative, I guess, come forth? If it's easier, Mr. Arnold, for you to stay there, feel free to stay there.
Okay, give him the microphone.
Well, it's nice to see you all again.
Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Yes. Kind of feel like I'm part of the team now. So just to reintroduce, I'm Dave Arnold, my daughter Ashley, who's part of the property, my wife Kathy, and Steve Bull.
Okay. I'm just going to need you to just make sure you speak into the microphone. Okay.
So anyways, we have my wife Kathleen, we have my daughter Ashley, I'm Dave Arnold, and this is Steve Poole, one of our consultants.
Okay. All right, so first, thank you for attending the last meeting. And I know that this was a bit short to come again on another Monday. But I just want to make sure that the board has had a chance to review the information that was supplied from last meeting. Okay. So obviously, Mr. Arnold, you know, we hear and we see your point that you had a representative, Mr. Paquette, construct a plan for you, and you necessarily didn't like the plan that he had submitted to the board. The board approved one plan, and you have gone and changed that plan and had something entirely different. The crux of the matter here is that you didn't communicate with the office here to let folks know that, you're supposed to notify us of a change. The big issue that the commission has had with this is, number one, there was, back when we spoke about this, there was just a bit of, I didn't want the other one, and this is the one that I wanted, and this is what you got. And that's not how this board functions. This board reports to the state, and this board is governed by the state, which is different than a lot of the other boards within town hall. So with that, the thing that the board is focused on is how far into the lake is this wall. And there's a mean high water mark in this area, and there is a flood component for the lake. No matter wherever you are, geologically or geographic-wise, the lake has different points, whether it's 478 or whether it's 480, depends on where you are on the lake. So that's what they call the mean annual high water mark. And in the application itself here, the state had pointed out in their technical comments that what you were looking to do, which was repair the project for a potential retaining wall, construction, reconstruction, repair, replacement docks, revetments, they took that out of the legal language that's in the regs. If the wall will fall within the mean annual high water line, the wall will be in contact with water line during a typical year, which we can definitely see from your wall that there is a line that goes right across there. It's not created by wave energy, that's created by the lake going up to a certain height and going down to a certain height all the time. And after a while, the minerals that are in the water create that staining. And that's not necessarily exactly how you identify that something could be in a floodplain, but it's a good indicator that the mean annual high water mark is touching this wall, which the board has been struggling with your representatives, whether it's Scott Morrison or whether it's Mr. Poole, that how much is in the lake, and even in here, it talks about that you need to get a Chapter 91 license. And Chapter 91 license is to do work within state property, which is anywhere from that 480 mark and into what is considered the state property, which is your abutter. It's just like as if you were doing work and you started going into someone else's property, you'd end up in some sort of lawsuit or some sort of legal issue. So this is what the state puts into place, is what they call Chapter 91. So existing docks require Chapter 91 license. Your docks right now don't have a Chapter 91 license. And any work within bank, which is 310 CMR 10.54.4, requires a possible habitat assessment. And if you've altered up to 10% or 50 feet, whichever is less of the length of the bank. So a lot of components for this project didn't happen. So we, the last time, gave, Mr. Poole, I'm sure he let you know what the board had talked about was, well, in order to figure this out, I still think that a Chapter 91 application needs to go to the state. The state needs to review this. And the state needs to say, okay, well, it's after the fact, how are we going to mitigate this? And the board, came up with, well, the easiest part would be the side that's left to the stairs. If you just took down that first tier and left that back wall, there's some room for the water, this tier right here, which you can see up on the screen. If that were to come down and you were to plant facultative plants in there, obligate plants in there rather, buttonbush or so forth, and then in all the other areas that you talked about, at least there is some storage going back to the lake in this capacity here. So that is what the board's presented to Mr. Poole, was the easiest way to fix this would be to take down that tier that's closest to the water here. And Mr. Poole's an engineer. I think you're in engineering. You could figure out how to make sure that that back wall sustains itself, but give some shoreline back to the lake and allow for whatever habitat may go there, and pop in some plants and just let it kind of heal itself. Because right now, the water doesn't have anywhere to go when it floods. And at least that 23 feet, I think we calculated 25 feet there, would aid the situation. I mean, it doesn't necessarily Band-Aid the whole situation. I think by now you should understand that a change in a plan going forward, you got to partner with us and let us know. Like, we take it seriously. So I don't know if you've given this a thought. I don't know if you need to think about it a little bit more on taking down the front part of the wall that's on when you're looking from the water, that small area there, and allow that to go back to the way it was. But I still think that a formal Chapter 91 application for this wall needs to be reviewed by the state. And that's a huge missing piece.
You know, I certainly appreciate where you're coming from. However, when we realized that we ended up doing construction somewhat different than what was originally proposed. You know, we had meetings with who the current health agent was at that time, and she said, you know, can you work with the commission and all that? And I said, yeah, we can. And you know, you sent us a letter and suggested that we hire an environmental scientist, you know, which we did, and we hired, you know, Mr. Poole as a civil engineering expert. And between the two of them, you know, I received 2 reports. Now, Mr. Poole's recent report I just got this afternoon, to be honest with you. And you know, both reports were you know, basically in our favor, saying that, you know, that what was built was not necessarily, you know, against state regulations, and you know, shame on us for not coming before you for making the changes and stuff. It's, you know, as I said before, we've been on the lake 38 years. I've seen more walls being built, and a lot of them are right in the water, and I thought we were abiding by the rules. And
If any of them are being built, Mr. Arnold, they're most likely before the board,
you know, maybe so. It's
number one, and
We're beyond, we appreciate that, apologize for that, and are trying to move forward
well,
with you.
the missing piece here is Chapter 91 for this wall, but we also need to look at the compensation piece that I talked about, because this wall is, I know that Scott Morrison had deemed it one way because of the way that the plan was, but, you know, this is why I brought up too, you weren't at the meeting, that I think a third, yeah, but Mr. Arnold, there needs to be a third party here that needs to look at this and review Scott's work, just like what we do with any other project. A third party reviewer needs to be involved and say, all right, that needs to be kind of the,
Well, I'm not going to hire a third party. You wanted us to hire a scientist. We hired a scientist. He wrote a report, and then we have a civil engineering consultant. Now, by hiring, we're going to just keep hiring more scientists until we finally get something that you're satisfied with.
yeah, but the language of Scott Morrison is the opinion. It is not definitive. The opinion is that this is not in the law.
Professional people, and they're
I understand that. I'm a professional person in this area, so I know what I'm talking about.
The board
But,
directed us to, via a letter in April,
yes,
very specifically, get a scientist.
yes.
You got the scientist.
That was to evade you getting fined. We have not fined
For
you
the
yet.
report, if the board, or the commission is not in agreement with it, we would like that back in writing. We've done everything you've asked. The report said we were in compliance. Now there's kind of like a second.
But if you go to online, the state says that if you're doing work in the shoreline, you got to file a Chapter 91. It's right here. If you go to Mass DEP lookup and you look up your file number, you didn't do that. There's a still outstanding issue here. That's what I'm trying to tell you. And in that review, you need to have somebody submit the information to us. The board needs to review that application and determine yes or no. And what I'm trying to tell you is that we're of the belief, based on what we're looking at, and I tried to explain this to Scott, and I definitely tried to explain it to Mr. Poole, that this is, in my best estimate, 6 feet out further than what it was before. And it's definitely longer than what it was anticipated for. That has been said before in this hearing. I believe it was by you, Mr. Poole, and by someone else, that this is 23 feet longer than what it should have been. So you got to look at it that we're just trying to mitigate this is a major violation from what was supposed to be there versus this. And it's not that you can't do it. It's just the mechanisms to do this just got completely sidetracked here. And the filing needs to happen, but I think that because, and the thing is, Mr. Arnold, is, you know, Mr. Poole and Mr. Morrison, we don't know what the history is with you. We don't know if you know them. Like, that's why a third-party outside reviewer,
You recommended that third
Yeah,
party.
you recommended, you didn't.
In
Mr.
that
Poole.
letter.
Yeah, go ahead, Steve.
Chapter 91, we discussed this 2 meetings ago. And we took elevations at the base of the wall. And we came out with the fact that the bottom of the wall was 1/10 of a foot above the high water level in the lake that Chapter 91 uses. Scott Morrison talked to the people in Worcester, Chapter 91, and they said, if you're above our elevation,
Chapter 91 is not in Worcester. Chapter 91 is not in Worcester.
he talked to somebody who deals with Chapter 91.
I know, and this is,
That if you're above our elevation, you are not within our jurisdiction.
but who shot the grades? And because if you look next door, the grades that were done by a different engineer, actually the 480 lines up exactly with where the wall is. So it's, there is such a gray area with this that it needs,
Above that, I went out, I measured from where the face of the wall was, assuming that 478.8, I went out and in the water and just with a ruler, rough, but I measured distances from the wall to get down to the elevation 478, which is the record normal elevation of the lake. And we're well beyond that area, you know, anywhere from, 6 feet or roughly 6 feet, 5 feet away from the base of the wall to the normal lake elevation. And we're above the high elevation, high water elevation of the lake. So we have no Chapter 91 requirement. We're out of their jurisdiction.
yeah, but based on the email from Chapter 91 Waterways, and without plans, they can't tell you that you don't need one. Anyone could call up and say, I measured this way, I measured that way, I measured backwards, I measured upwards, all this, all this, that, and the other, and they're gonna give the same stock answer because they don't wanna get caught on record of saying, yes, you need one, and then you find out that the project didn't, or no, you didn't, and you end up doing the opposite of that. It's the board's opinion here, and it's been general consensus that the wall is, based on what we're looking at and information from a previous wetland scientist, that the wall is indeed, in fact, even if you're at the 480, you still need to file the Chapter 91. And you still need to do it for the dock anyway.
What technical information do you use to base that on?
You can use LiDAR. You use USGS topos. Why am I explaining that to an engineer?
We shot grades in the field to come up with those elevations.
Do we have a map that shows the grades,
Mr. Chairman, can I just ask a quick question of Stephen? Stephen, do you know if Mr. Morrison ever sent them the plans to review? But the last email that I got from Mr. Morrison is up on the screen, and it's pretty much Chapter 91 waterways, because this might help answer some of the questions that are going back and forth right now. So they said, we can confirm that the dock will require a Chapter 91 license, which Chairman Wigglesworth is stating correctly.
Several
And then
times.
it says, but without having plans that depict the proposed retaining wall in relations to the location elevation of Chapter 91, they really can't confirm where that wall is. Do you know if Mr. Morrison ever sent those plans for them to actually look at, to confirm this?
I can't tell you that.
Okay. Because I think that would answer a lot of the questions of what's going back and
That's-
forth, because this was the final correspondence from Waterways that I've received.
And the important thing to realize here,
Yes, that's in there, that's in,
The important thing to
Arnold
realize here.
job file. So that was July 7th at 1:36, and then this one was Scott at 10:45. This was the final correspondence. Yes. So if he didn't submit the plans, they really couldn't give a final answer on this.
And this is what I explained to Scott twice before, but Scott didn't want to listen. This was like the final answer, and like I said, it says we cannot confirm whether the retaining wall requires a 91 license. So that is an area of ambiguity, and that needs to be addressed with the state. And the thing is if the state's looking at your old plans and not the violation, which we gave an enforcement order on, they need all of this information. But the other thing too is you're having work done at 69, and I saw the wetland scientists' flags from 69, and I saw the grades from 69, and if you look at the map for 69 and put it next to 67, the 480 mark comes like midway the wall is here and 480 comes right here. That's another indication that something here is off. And I mean, the thing is, Mr. Arnold, we're going back and forth about this. It's a simple, get the plans together, bring them to us, file the Chapter 91, and you just got to bring this to the state. I mean, is that...
You have to understand where we're coming from, you know? I go out and I hire the environmental scientists, if you will, and, you know, a very reputable firm. There was a firm that you folks recommended. You recommended 3 different firms, and we chose one of the 3. And they write a report, and the report specifically states, and they show the different pictures and what's going on. You've all had an opportunity to read the report. And the report says everything is within legal, construction process within the state's regulations and so on. Now, shame on us for not coming back to you people.
And you know what, we got that. The main thing
We
is,
just want to move on.
and that's where I'm getting at, is the board would like to see a Chapter 91 done. You have to do it for the dock anyway.
And we don't have to do that, so you have to understand that.
But that's,
Let us submit the information to Chapter 91.
yes,
and
and,
get a response.
and you need to submit it to Boston, and you need to talk with Chrissy Hops. If you write her name down, it's Chrissy Hops. She's a deputy director of waterways. She's very familiar with Webster. She reviews a lot of what's been done around the lake. She's been a wealth of knowledge to the board in the past. She's given talks on permitting these things. So, Chrissy, it's C-H-R-I-S-S-Y?
What was her last name?
It's Hops, yeah, H-O-P-P-S. And I think it's chrissy.hops@mass.gov. But you'll see, if you Google Chapter 91, Mass DEP Chapter 91, you'll see her information there. There's a general inbox there. There's literally 2 people that work for Chapter 91 for the whole state for reviewing. But if we can get Chrissy Hops's email, and yeah, Dawn can get that for you. But if we can figure out this piece, and there's a review done by her, and everything is, but, the other thing too is a lot of the softscape that is gone there's no plantings. So, we're still looking for some mitigation as far as plantings too, so.
That was part of the recommendation, and I don't think we had any objection to adding
Okay,
plantings.
okay. Commissioners.
He presented plantings a couple of meetings ago, didn't he?
No, I know, but I just want to let you know that, okay. Commissioners, does any commissioner have some input? Any input?
The only piece I wanted to remind the board about was not only was the wall 23 feet longer, 23 feet longer than it was supposed to be, it was also 4 feet higher. You were approved for a 4-foot wall, and it's an 8-foot wall. So, 6, still off by 2 feet, right? And correct me if I'm wrong, at the last meeting, you said you were given bad advice by your contractor, and you were told, don't worry about it. If it's not okay and there's
By
fines.
2 contractors.
It's okay. If there's no fines, we'll be happy to pay them for you. You said that, correct?
Yes, I agree.
So, did that not raise a red flag that there was something not quite right? And did you think that was okay after being on the lake for 38 years?
We've accepted that and moved on from that. I think we're trying to move forward with
I'm just trying to get
commissioners.
an answer.
We've already expressed that multiple times.
Well, many people on the lake can do projects and be sorry afterwards, but it still affects the lake, right? So I'm just,
It's not our intention, and we're trying to move forward with all of the conversation we just had. We've
I was just
admitted our
looking for an
fault.
answer to my question. Did it not raise a red flag that that was not right?
No, not really, because when 2 people tell you, don't worry about it, it's,
They weren't saying, don't
Yeah,
worry
I
about
think we were
it. They
improving our
were saying it
property
could be a
immensely.
problem.
They weren't saying it was okay. They were saying, it's okay, we'll get forgiveness afterwards and pay the fines.
Well, it wasn't quite handled in that particular attitude. It was just, don't worry about it, everything we were doing was what we didn't think was overly controversial. And we knew it was somewhat different than what was proposed, okay? I'll admit to that. But it was basically, and as I mentioned too, the wall that extends out further than what was originally planned, we did have a problem with the existing retaining wall that the contract had put in 20-some-odd years ago, that it's starting to move. We needed to raise that elevation a little bit in back of it to give it a little bit more support. I think if he had used some dead men, or if he tied it back into the soil, it probably wouldn't have moved. But it is starting to move, and there's an obvious crack there. And we were just trying to soften the slope. And if you look at the pictures, there's nothing growing there. It's all, on one side, it's all landscape stones, and they're good-sized stones. And on the other side, it was all mulch. And there was 2 trees there. And one of the trees was dead, didn't have any leaves for 3 years. And the other tree that was doing very, very well blew down. So I have pictures of that. The tree blew down, it actually put a dent in our dock. And, so while we were cleaning up the tree that fell down into the lake, we cut down the other tree because it wasn't, you don't have to be an expert to figure out if the tree doesn't produce any leaves for 2 or 3 years. It's not doing so good. So that's the only vegetation was there. And we have a problem with beavers over there too. If you look at, like, on 69, there's a couple of trees that are down. The beavers come in the springtime, and they're making their nests, or whatever you call them, and what?
They're dams.
They what?
They're building dams.
Yeah, they're dams, and they chomp down the trees.
It's nature
You're
being
using
nature.
the term moving forward, I'm all for moving forward, but it's also you also have to accept consequences for making a mistake, and that's part of moving forward. And like I said, we had a small recommendation that part of the wall come down, not the whole thing that we had originally asked for. Those blocks can be moved. It's not easy, but it's not that hard either for those, because I looked into that for my wall as well. So,
Well, the
like
walls
I
can
said,
be
moving
moved, but
forward
there's all
doesn't mean,
backfill
okay,
back of the
forgetting
walls.
everything that happened in the past. That's not part of moving forward.
If it's a formal recommendation from the commission, it can be written down or backed up with some sort of, you're asking us to provide scientific evidence, engineering, and then you guys are just, the way we see it, I'm sure possibly more in the background, just, take this part down, that'll alleviate it.
Yeah,
So
but
if you're
that-
suggesting something specific, it could be written
I'm going to be honest with you, from the beginning, we've been, from trying to get in touch with you folks for the last 3.5 years, that this has gone on. The board was in the same position, that, and I also contacted my contacts and colleagues with the state, and the board can request that part of the wall come down, because there is a violation. I spoke with Mr. Poole 2 meetings ago. We explained it to him, he took notes. It's not my responsibility after he takes the information and doesn't give it to you.
No, we got the information.
Okay, that was on, we're in a formal meeting right now in a municipality. And our job is to implement Wetlands Protection Act as well as Chapter 91, because this is a state body of water. So these are the mechanisms that we're trying to hold you, as well as anyone else that does work around the lake, accountable for. And had you come before us, we wouldn't be in this, you know, he said, she said, this one, hiring additional consultants, all this other stuff, and just partner with us. And I can't stress that enough as folks that are looking to develop another parcel. So, you know, it's a separate. Absolutely, and this is what we've been talking about for a while, and the fact that Scott Morrison never actually sent the plans to the state and said, we need you to, you know, we need an opinion here. Scott did a wetlands assessment, and I don't even think he did a habitat assessment, which really should have been done here. Scott just really wanted to argue with me that it's right on that line of 480. It's not, the other plan is not a good plan. And, you know, I mean, it was just more of, it was a linear argument with Scott. And I highly, you know, I mean, I look at Scott as a superior professional. It's just two professionals can disagree. And that was why I brought up that, you know what, I mean, we're kind of going back and forth here. If a third-party reviewer got involved in this, then that could be, you know, all right, you know what, they're right. All right, no, it's not that way. And we can move on from there. But I would highly recommend that you go to the state and find out if a 91, I'm guaranteeing you that they're gonna say, yes, you need to. Because they're going to look at, and I urge you to submit those photographs and everything to Chrissy and say, I'm in a violation enforcement order with Webster. How can I move forward with this? I mean, and you need to provide the burden of proof of what we're asking for. So it's.
Nothing wrong with documenting what you're specifically asking for.
If you would like.
We need to react to that, and it's something to put down.
But it's been a
that you want
broken,
X
it's been a
amount of wall
broken record
removed
of the
or-
same stuff.
Let me just finish.
That's a good
If you
idea.
want X
I agree
amount
with
of
that.
wall removed, or if you want the height to be reduced, or what have you, it's just nice to know specifically what you're looking for, so then we can take the appropriate action that we might choose to take.
Mr. Poole, you were at the meeting, and we gave you all of that information.
But it's all verbal, it's not, it's,
If you want it written, then we'll have it written, and then we'll have it sent via certified mail.
you're giving Mr. Poole a hard time for not having specific drawings, but yet I'm not seeing specific.
I'm
drawings.
giving him a hard time because he didn't relay, it doesn't seem like he relayed proper information to you. And if you're going to retain consultants, and I tell this to people all the time, it is not the board's responsibility for a consultant that does not relay the information. So if you want to take a look at whatever meeting date that was, you want to take a look at the meeting when we talked with Mr. Poole about everything, Don can get you that date, review that
We have
video.
information, we're just looking for it in formal writings.
Okay, all right, then we can,
I'm trying to be argumentative, competitive, or anything like that.
no, but you're going to understand, Ashley, I've been going back and forth on this I've been on the board for 6 years now, and I mean, more than half of it has been trying to get you guys way beyond where we are at.
We're trying to work.
And I appreciate that significantly, I really do.
The past, I know no one wants to hear the past about, he had health problems, we were not trying to be, we had other representation here, we are all personally be here, whenever you want to talk about this, we are looking to move forward.
And that's all we want, that's all we want to do. We want to see you off our agenda. So,
I just would like to say that you do have something very formal in writing. Your original order of conditions was very specific to what that project was approved and what it should have been. So that's what's in writing, and that's what we approved, and anything beyond that was not approved by the commission. So if you wanted specific guidelines of what was recommended that should be done on the site, if you revisit your original order of conditions, it's all written there, with special conditions included.
And signed by
For
you
their-
and the town.
yeah.
And actually, I'm just going to add, so I came up with the resolution, so I went out to your property, I looked at it, all right? Are you familiar with the little pond, the little inlet that's right next to that property? Have you ever been in there? Right? It's pretty pristine, it's really nice, there's a lot of amphibian activity, a lot of fish in there. It's a nice little niche habitat, right? And so the idea that I came up with in trying to resolve this was using science, right, because I am a scientist, is that if you eliminate some of that wall on the, from the lake walking up the stairs, you eliminate some of that and try to give back that bank. And yes. So as you walk up the stairs on the left, that
It's
small
23
area,
feet.
that sort of takes away some of the added,
That's it.
I feel like the picture you were showing.
That one right there.
Previously, you were showing the right.
Oh, no,
No,
not
this
the
one right here.
This one right here is what we were talking about.
so if there was a way that you could look at what's in that little niche and you tried to restore it to sort of match the habitat that's in that little niche area, to me, scientifically, you're giving back sort of an environment that was taken away, and you're sort of,
It's
much
going to work
footage
out
is that?
for,
How much of the wall
if we
is that?
tie this to the act, which we're charged with, okay, Wetlands Protection Act, the 8 interests of the act, this will provide floodwater capacity and storage, pollution prevention, it will provide habitat, and that's just, I mean, off the top of my head. I mean, groundwater recharge, because there won't be hardscape there. There's, you know, if you're starting to have an enforcement or a violation that is starting to ding those 8 interests, any of those 8 interests of the act, we have to take action. So what we were recommending was to take this piece out and let it go back natural. And this is what I explained to Mr. Poole. This would be a simple, I mean, yeah, it's removing heavy blocks and whatnot, but this is the simplest fix.
you'll probably need one set of blocks on the left side of those stairs to shoot back in to sort of protect everything that's holding up those stairs, all the crushed stone that's in there. But everything else, if you eliminated that and sort of returned that bank back to what you have over on the left side, I think you would be doing a world of good for the lake, for the ecosystem in that area. And I think, yeah, that was my solution that I came up with. Right, so it's just not cut down the half that you said you weren't going to build, which was over on the right side. I didn't see any ecological benefit by removing that. And as a matter of fact, I kind of agree that it does help with erosion control over on that side. So this side here, I don't think you have nearly the issue as it relates to erosion as you have on the right side. And so scientifically, the reason for that solution was more of an environmental and as well as a water resource area return.
So you're suggesting specifics of what you think we should do to resolve the problem, which is fine. But again, we like to just kind of have it in writing, because that's different than what the letter you're referring to is talking about. So just to have the specifics, so then we can either decide we're going to do it, or we're going to.
Well, there are minutes, and you said you watched the video, so you've.
Debate it some more, or what have you. But at least it gives us the opportunity to see exactly, exactly what you're recommending. Is that the recommendation of the entire board, or is that just your personal recommendation too? See, I don't know that.
That is my recommendation.
we voted on
and
it.
if you look at those,
Mr. Chairman,
yes,
if I recall correctly, I believe at one point in time, at one of the meetings that Mr. Poole was at, and I believe Scott Morrison might have been there as well.
was.
The whole entire commission, besides the new members, had also recommended removing this first part of the wall to allow for the flood water capacity back, and leave this portion of the wall.
yeah,
If
that's
all
what
of
we're
this-
talking about, yeah. It's just
Yeah.
this first,
Yes,
If you eliminate
taking,
the wall, it's the other walls are not gonna stay there. It doesn't go all the way down to the subsurface.
I mean, this is part of the broken, this is part of what's broken. And we presented the option to your engineer, and it's not our job to figure that piece out. So if that comes out, what's the distance behind it? And maybe two of these blocks just need to go back for stability. I don't know. Engineering is not my forte. I understand it. Wetland science is my background. So,
I make a suggestion. If the commission would give us copies of the minutes of like the last 4 hearings.
Don can get those for you.
They're on the website, right? They're on the website, yeah.
But you're going to remember that order of conditions was written for the original wall. You have to take into effect that you guys are not seeing here is that you've done something entirely different. So it needs to be permitted now after the fact. This was the solution that the board came up with to compensate for this.
That's what I'm talking about.
And
We have what you just, spoke of, Mr. Perrin, with the wall and whatnot. We just had that in writing. I think that would satisfy.
Don, here's it. We'll get you that and all those points in writing. Talk to the state. I cannot implore you enough to do that.
If we talk to the state and say, what specifically does the Conservation Commission want you to do? And it's something that, that's what we needed to have it in writing. I don't think that's asking for.
Then that's fine. What we can do is we can continue this out, our next meeting is until the 30th, so that gives you a bit of time to try to get in touch with someone, not from DEP, like I said, Waterways. You need to talk to Waterways. DEP has different divisions, and the Division of Wetlands and Waterways, which is the Boston office, not DEP Central. They just look at the interface of the wetlands between and, the shoreline, and that's like it. They don't look at a situation like this. Okay? Do we have folks with comments?
Comment from the public. Let me be clear that there was 3 consultants originally on this project. I was the first one, Glenn Kowalski with EBT Environmental.
Okay.
Mr. Arnold I did not quit the job. I fired Mr. Arnold as a client because he would not listen to what was clear of the original plan, which showed a much smaller footprint. We did survey, we overlaid the survey, went on top of LiDAR, which showed what the site looked at before any work occurred. Then we took the ground survey, and then we laid over the napkin plan. And without that showing, Mr. Arnold, when I asked him, give me 15 minutes on a Saturday morning, said, I got a party, I can't give you, I said, I'll see you early. You can't see me when we're such an egregious project? That's when I fired my client and did not get paid for this, so I don't mind saying something about it. Thank you.
First of all,
I don't want to talk anymore. And I'll leave the room.
First of all-
I will not listen to this gentleman.
First of all, when he talked to me, I had him on a speakerphone, and Kathy witnessed the conversation. And we were having a little bit of a problem. He was supposed to meet with me, I think, on a Tuesday, and I had, I run a business too, and I couldn't make it until the following Tuesday. And he said he wanted to meet the next day, and I said, I can't meet the next day. He says, well, then I quit. And Kathy can you justify that? Can you speak into the microphone?
That's what he said.
That's neither here nor there.
That's not our business.
The truth is always somewhere in the middle. Okay, Mr. Arnold? Yeah, it is in the middle. Yeah, I know Mr. Kowalski very well, and, you know, he's a man of his word. That's all okay. I mean, so, but that being said,
That becomes a distraction.
exactly, exactly. The point is, something has to be done about this wall, Mr. Arnold, and you're right. You know, you can look up the minutes, what we had said, but as is, the wall itself is a big problem. And, I don't know, can I disagree with you? Can I? I really, I think a lot of the, you know, like you said, how many consultants do you go? Because we have a great one here. He's purchased all over the community. So you disagree with him, who cares, right? But that being said, you have a lot of opinions saying this wall is too big. It's too long. I mean, we don't need a third, fourth, or fifth one. We don't need Chapter 91. Let's see what we can do right here, right now. We're all tired of this thing. You are, so are we. You know?
I think this is why we're looking for it in writing, because you just, you know, said, can I disagree? So, just,
Yeah,
and I have the
but
meeting
just
minutes
because
for the
I
last
disagree
minute.
doesn't mean I'm right either. But we know the original plans said not this. We have an excellent consultant who did say he had a difference of view. You have another one. The fact is that this wall is poor of the way it is. Take part of it down, I call him Parent. I always forget your first name.
So,
I mean, it would
Rob-
be great if we could resolve this tonight. Take an X part down, you know.
well, I
and
mean, that's what
let's
I
go.
recommended 2
You know,
meetings ago.
let's-
Rich just gave you that same information. Robin is in the same court,
And I'm
even though she
usually
says she
not
doesn't
this-
agree with me. She just told you she agrees with the same thing. So, I mean,
Different programs, I'm hearing one program,
all right,
all
so
the
let's,
same
all right, so
program.
let's do this, because,
she in
Wait a
here.
minute, wait a minute, just,
Then I hear a program from Mr. Parent, I'm hearing something from you, I'm hearing something from you. We just need to have something on
Okay.
Conservation Commission letterheads,
Okay.
that this is what you need to do to rectify the problem. And
but we're all
that's what I will
speaking the same language, Mr.
For the
Arnold.
record, I agree with Mr. Parent. I'm on his program. I'm not on a different program. I'm just saying, and it's
No, I
a
appreciate
beaten
what you're
horse. that
And I'm of the same, I'm the same, in the same caliber. This needs to be addressed, and this would solve your whole problem. And if your engineer can work with you on that, fine. But what I'm going to tell you right now, whatever you decide to do here, there still needs to be a Chapter 91 permit that needs to be done in order for even removing this or doing work on this now. So, you know, think it over. I mean, we've got, you know, Commissioner Sheeran, Commissioner Parent, myself, you've heard it from Commissioner Jewell, that the fix for this is this 23-foot piece here. And if the blocks can get out of the way in the front here, and it just goes back to a slope naturalized shoreline, it's providing what they call compensatory flood storage for the lake. And then in the permitting piece, we can just have you go through the Chapter 91 process, they'll review everything, and then away you can go on it. But does anyone else here, feel differently about the recommendation?
No.
I mean, if you hired somebody else, isn't that money you wouldn't be, you know, you could put into getting rid of the wall, and we'd be over. You know?
As I stated before, I mean, we hired 2
Yeah,
experts.
but
It
you
doesn't
hired
matter.
3,
You
and he
gotta
has his
just get it
opinion
done.
too. We have to listen, if you want us to listen to the other 2, plus the commission at the time, they had their opinion.
Is he working for you?
Wow, why?
Can I say?
Is he-
Really?
No, I'm working for him. How you like that? No,
Can
I just know his work. I know of his work.
Can I interject a little bit?
Yeah.
I think we're all saying the same thing, and I'm trying, so I'm new, so I'm just trying to make light of this. I feel like they're saying, do what's best for you, but try to mitigate stuff. So that's why I don't think I heard 4 different opinions, but it's saying they want you to sort of have input of what's best for you, but still meeting the minimum sort of qualifications,
Yeah,
right?
code
So
requirements, yep.
I teach, so I have students that want me to spell stuff out for them, and then there's some students that just sort of do what they like to do. I'm hearing, it feels like here's 4 different ways to get to, is it 4? No, it's 3, I'm
Same
sorry.
answer.
Well,
To
this-
get to where you need to be and choose what's best for you but still gonna meet the qualifications. That's what as someone, I've been here a month.
No, I mean, that's,
Right, for sure.
You end up producing something else, and then you look at it,
Right.
wow, that isn't quite right. That's why if you just tell.
And what I'm hearing is, right.
What is the remediation? What specifically
Right.
would you like to see us do? And then from there, we can say, okay, we're gonna do that, or
Okay.
we disagree, or whatever.
so
So at least we have something.
here's what here's what I'm gonna propose to the board, that Dawn drafts up a letter with our bullet points of what we have discussed for remediation, mitigation for this project, okay? On commission letterhead, I would attach the notes for the last, you said 4 meetings you wanted? The
Right
meeting
on the
minutes for the
website.
last 4 meetings that just call out what we discussed and have it over to Mr. Arnold. In that letter, it needs to state that it is recommended that a Chapter 91 permit, which is still outstanding on the dock, but also for the wall work, even in this remediation piece. Because even in the original, even if you had done the original plan that you had done, you still didn't go through Chapter 91, which they had recommended, the state had recommended in their permit. So that's a missed piece.
Wasn't that for the dog?
No, this was in your original permit. So we're on to this new project. It's done. We gave you the mitigation points, which would be to look at that 23-foot area when you're facing the house on the left side. Mr. Parent spelled it out for you.
Good job.
Is there any other,
There is. I've also heard of a report that just came out a couple of days ago. It's not in the record, Don. Are you aware of this report?
I think it was already in the record for you, but there was just a miscommunication.
Got it.
with
Okay.
him.
So it's not a report that we're missing. Okay, thank you.
It was from August. I think it was presented to you at the August 21st meeting.
Okay.
okay, any other comments on this? All right, let's take a vote to send the Arnold team a letter. So do we have a
Do we
motion?
want to, like, just pass it around the board so we all see it, so we understand the language and have input on it?
I would get your comments to Dawn because that would be breaking open meeting law.
Got it.
So was that going to get to us by email, and then we can review it in that
E-
manner?
Email your comments to Dawn, and then if we want, we can take a look at the letter on the 30th, but, I mean, we want to get these folks the letter as soon as possible, so
Exactly.
I
Totally agree.
I think Don gets it.
if, you're good at drafting these things,
Yeah.
so,
And I'll look at the meeting minutes from Kelly as well.
Yes.
To just reconfirm that everything that the commission members have
But it's-
said.
but it's been
She has
on,
the last 4 meeting minutes, and his daughter, she
No.
has them in her file.
I'm talking about.
Oh, but I mean, she already has them, so why do you have to give them to her?
And it's public record.
it's public record,
Why not?
okay?
I'd make a motion that we ask staff to send a letter to the Arnolds indicating our recommendation as to how to move forward.
I second.
All right, so,
And also, it must be in compliance with Chapter 91, as Joey
That's
indicated.
part of the
that's
recommendation.
part of the recommendation.
Yeah,
Yep.
that for me.
It's the specific things we're asking of them, just like you want.
All right, so I need to roll call on this. So Commissioner Parent with the first, Commissioner Jewell with the second?
Right.
All right, and a roll call, Commissioner Foley,
Yes.
Commissioner Jewell,
Yes.
Commissioner Camerado,
Yes.
Commissioner Parent,
Yes.
Commissioner Shivers?
Yes.
Commissioner Sharon?
Yes.
Commissioner Wigglesworth is a yes. Okay. So she'll get that drafted, sent over to you. If there's any questions, please contact the office, okay?
Thank you.
And Mr. Poole, if there is a new, some sort of new report that you had sent to Mr. Arnold that we may not have had, please submit that to the office, okay? All
Mr.
right.
Chairman?
Yes.
Are you going to vote to continue as well?
Yes, yep, right now. So we'll vote to continue this to October 30th at the police station, right? Police station? Police station. Can I get a motion on that, please?
I'll make a motion that we continue this matter on 67 Colonial Road till
October 30th at the
October
police station.
30th.
All right. So Commissioner Parent, the first, do we have a second?
Second.
And Commissioner Shivers with the second, and a roll call, Commissioner Foley,
Yes.
Commissioner Jewell,
Yes.
Commissioner Camerado,
Yes.
Commissioner Parent,
Yes.
Commissioner Shivers,
Yes.
Commissioner Sharon,
Yes.
Commissioner Wigglesworth is a yes. Folks, thank you. Have a good night. Okay? Thank you. All right, thank you. All right, next up here, we've got 71R Minebrook Road. This is the Weatherby Enforcement Order clearing in a wetland, continued from 9/25. And this is an RDA. Weatherby, Mr. Kravosky.
Are you ready, Chairman?
I
Mr.
am
Chairman?
ready.
Thank you. Good evening, Board. Glenn Kowalski from EBT Environmental. I know this has been dragging on. This was the former gravel pit from 395 when it was built, as we talked about before. Mr. Joe Levesque did do a flyover 2-foot contour mapping, you might have. Mr. Levesque has now come on board to pick up the wetland flags, both at the access driveway. We talked today, talked to Mr. Weatherby. He's now contracted to pick up those flags at the road, the driveway that goes to the gentleman's house, Mr. Weatherby. As we're going up the driveway, at the end of it, there is fill in that Cattail Marsh area. There was originally a dump area. This was a dumping grounds originally after 395 when it was an open pit and many people lived on Minebrook, dirt road, dumping ground, tires, shingles. I talked to Mr. Weatherby and he said, incorrectly, he said that, well, and I did talk to Ms. Portman over this, that he said, well, and this isn't correct because I'm sure it isn't correct, but he said, well, Don's only concerned with around where this fill was on a driveway. So I asked Don, and of course that was not the case. We want to identify the wetlands that were filled on the driveway. You can see it then, right?
Yep. Yeah, we've got the aerial.
Okay, the
Yep.
driveway coming up on the left-hand side.
Yeah.
Yep, there's a car road crossing that wetland to the left-hand
Yeah.
side against the driveway, it's a filled wetland, and there's discharge going over a dirt road that goes to the back of the property. We were talking again about putting a pipe in there so that if the gentleman continues to be allowed to get access to his upland property in the back, that he will not be driving through a groundwater discharge area over the roadway. Restoration or replication of the wetland on the side of the driveway that's filled, no, that's the other.
Yeah, right there.
On the side of that driveway, that right. And then in the back left, the removal of all the tar material, all the tires, any kind of debris that was put there over the years before the gentleman bought the property. And then for new people, he cleared it, he took the trees out. He has chipped all those trees in the last month and a half, so the logs are gone. The stumps are gone. He didn't chip them there. He disposed of the stump through a stump grinding company.
Okay.
So at least we've got that one point taken care of.
Yes.
Now it's a matter of flagging the wetlands on the back left, flagging the wetlands as you're going up the driveway on the left-hand side where there's fill, identifying the volume of the water that comes out of this small groundwater discharge wetland that's been filled and sizing the pipe, we might say that the stream that comes from the Grand Trunk Railroad in the back that is just up gradient of the filled wetland is a separate drainage area going through a pipe under the cart road. So the issue being here is the wetland that's filled, that small headwater area, if you want to call it down, a groundwater discharge area, doesn't have a lot of volume going through it because it's just that small area discharging. So the pipe drainage area would be small, so the piping would be small. That'll be calculated. And beyond all that, and after all the enforcement orders you've been talking about, yes, EBT Inc. and Mr. Weatherby are asking for a continuance to pick up these flags, but we can at least guarantee before the snow flies, because this is all stabilized now. It has grown back in as far as herbaceous layer, and there isn't any erosion going down gradient. Where there was one point of erosion, we did put wattles in right at the beginning of the project. And he isn't using the cart road to go up in the back. I told him, don't touch it, don't go on it until we get this thing all resolved. So all he's doing here is mowing the lawn and maintaining the house. We will end up either replication or restoration of the wetland, depending on we're gonna present the plan to the board first to show you what the square footage of the lost area is. And Mr. Weatherby would like to use 1055 4B 1 through 7. The may I fill in something up to 5,000 square feet, which this is probably ranging in not even 1,000 square feet of fill.
Yeah.
But he would be asking to either use that clause to allow him to leave the fill in place so he can park this gentleman is a long hauler or hauler of heavy equipment. He was just on not that it cares to you, but 495 in a Mass Pike. Over nighttime, he was moving that equipment around for that construction at that location. That's what he does. Private company, his own company. He did used to work for Barry Equipment. So we're just trying to, we will stay on the project till it's completed. We can say that, and I think the board knows that unless I die. So, and we don't want to wait, and I use those terms. I'm getting older. But I'll be around for this one. I'll be around for it.
We'll be-
Taking care of my heart, I should be okay.
We'll be finding you in a
I
wetland
did
somewhere,
just dive
Glenn.
in Crete, I told you that, with no sharks out there, so we're good over that.
That would be
And,
a
we'll get
violation.
this- We'll get it
So-
done, and we're looking at most likely restoration in the spring, after the snow, when it dries up. It has been actually too wet, generally, as we know, from July on, to do this restoration work.
Yeah.
To remove that debris to cause more sedimentation. This area normally dries right up. It was a gravel pit that was taken down to the water table, a borrowed pit or a gravel removal area. And so then it just grew back in, and there we are. Now we have wetlands, but once they're created wetlands, they're wetlands, and that's the size of that.
So, to the board, the alleged violation here, or violation rather, was brought to the attention of the Conservation Department by an abutter. And I had immediately gone out with our brand-new agent at the time, Dawn. She really hadn't seen a violation before. And I just want to make a couple of comments. The moment that Mr. Weatherby was informed of, potential violation, he did stop. He was just looking to clean up his property. That really was what his main reason was. As Glenn did say, this was a significant dumping ground from when they put the 395 in. The concern from the anonymous complainer was that water was being conveyed to the adjacent wetland of their property, and the water was potential flooding risk for their property. Don and I obviously walked the property with Glenn. That's not the case. There isn't any issue. We were there when it was pretty wet. And, the other violation here, aside from clearing a wetland area, is that he did fill in right about where that cursor is right now, you see, there, so that he can park equipment. I think that, that is probably, even though I'm not a fan of parking heavy equipment that close to a wetland, you've probably seen Mr. Weatherby in here before. He does have a daughter that he worries about. So I think that parking equipment away from the house would be best for safety of his child. The one thing that I think probably Glenn and you know, as far as the entire project piece is, you know, we are, as you stated, we're coming into the cold season. And I think that if we're going to get some sort of a conveyance pipe in there, which it is best that you know, a pipe goes in where the old cart road is, because Mr. Weatherby does utilize that upper area of his property pretty often. And we probably want to get that done soon so that, you know, it's not a mud bowl.
Question?
Could I answer this? If, without doing the hydro calculations, what I would recommend, if you would accept this, and I think we just had this happen at LKQ, we would crush stone that crossing area with something like a 3/4 or 1 inch, because we don't have the calcs, but we're only talking an area that might be from here to the wall, for
Yeah.
the low dip area.
Yeah.
This would be a temporary, I would just as soon tell them, don't go back there anymore, and have them write it down and state it and give it to you
Yeah.
on paper, that I will not use this, because it's stable if it's not driven across any water.
Yeah,
Similar to-
yeah,
But if the commission wanted more without the calcs on this pipe sizing, and then that becomes fill because you gotta put the pipe in, and the water's leaving at the elevation of the dip in the road,
yeah,
and so we would have to fill over the top to get over that, then that becomes more fill before all of this is resolved. We could crush stone the crossing. I mean, if I have a guarantee on paper, I don't care if it's advertised,
yeah,
notarized,
yeah,
that we're not going there.
okay,
We just won't use it.
Okay.
And, in fact, we could even, because he's got the equipment, we could put a Jersey barrier across the entranceway, and then we're not using it. Whatever you need so that we don't, because I don't, because
Yeah.
either that, I'd put the crushed stone if he was back there all the time, and that would be only in the dip, so that we're running
Yeah.
over stone and not
Yeah.
silty material and generating silt that's going downstream.
yeah,
So I can do either one, block it off, I think blocking it off is a heck of an
I-
idea.
I would
and
go
that-
with-
That alleviates even material that's in there that might have to come back out when
Yep.
we finally put the pipe in.
There isn't, just so the board's aware, there isn't, even though he's filled in that area where the stream is trying to do its, you know, its stream thing, there's no major silts heading down into
I was gonna
that,
ask
so.
him, what do we mean by fill?
Could I also say one thing about this stream channel, which is shown on the aerial flyover? That stream position might have been actually picked up historically, because this house has been in there, and there's been no stream cutting across his driveway. So if we come back with the date of this house structure going in,
Yeah.
back at the day, this old pit, nobody was getting permits for anything, because it was just part of a pit.
Yep.
And nobody recognized it as wetlands. So at some point we saw where the flow path is now. It comes out of that Grand Trunk Railroad, runs along this wood line, if Dawn might be showing it. It runs along the wood line, and it comes right over to where this thing eventually goes under a pipe. There's
Yeah.
no longer a flow path through his driveway. That was historic.
Yeah,
I mean, these flyovers do go back a while, and a lot of times hydrologic connections, which you see these, they stay on the plans, they could stay there for 20 years for all. We've
Yeah.
seen stuff that doesn't get changed over years, even though physical conditions have changed on the ground. We just looked at one with a gravel pit. So we know where the flow path is, we walked it, it's along, as you're going up towards the house, it's to the left in the woodland, right along that woodland, and then down through a pipe. So there is no actual brook throwing through this wetland that I'm talking about. That's solely groundwater discharge. And we
Okay.
will actually come back with the date of the house, because that's most likely when things were revised.
and I mean, he's got a back access way if he really wanted to
Yeah,
get
oh,
over
yeah,
there.
he's got a
So,
pipe with a
I mean,
trailer
if
and
he
come
can
over
just
there. He
leave
doesn't
this
need to go
area
up there.
alone. I mean, he's been really, I mean, he's been good about leaving everything alone and letting it heal, you know, so far. And we just want to, you know, I wanted to just address that area, because when I saw it, I was like, geez, this is really, if he keeps driving over this, it's going to send stuff into the adjacent wetland. And I was just picking that up, Glenn. So, you know, if you think, you know, Jersey barrier, just leave it alone for a bit until the plan is all done and approved, then that's fine with me.
through Robert's rules, we'll send you a letter on what we're gonna do. We'll put it on my letterhead. We'll take a picture of it being done. And just for understanding when this might have changed, we'll send on, it's no big deal. It's in your assessors, when this structure was built. So in the end, the whole thing would be flagging wetlands on the left where that fill area is, obviously flagging the wetland where the flow path goes through, both down gradient of the flow path. Then the channel along the driveway as it's going towards the Grand Trunk Railroad, just inside the woods. And then that larger wetland that was all the shingles and the material that was dumped over there over the years. We had washing machines in the past and other things. This was a dumping ground.
yeah, it was-
Both on the back right,
Yeah.
and then in and on the left, up in the back. The back of the hill is all upland.
All right, so Commissioners, any questions for Glenn?
Yeah, I'd like to ask one, please. Do you consider any berm control, curbing, or you said Jersey barrier, so that if you put down crushed stone, obviously the surface water would be channeled, so to speak?
Excuse me, sir, thank you. I'm suggesting that where that cart road leads off his driveway, it Jersey barriered right there. So that even 150, or whatever it might be, to that low point, we're not even getting down there. This is gonna be closing off that driveway right so that you can't even leave his driveway to go down it. And it's a narrow cart road, we might say. It was the cart road used by people over the years, and it was never abandoned, so people,
Don,
it was still there.
would you mind just zooming in and just pointing out the spot, just so everyone knows where we're talking?
Yeah,
See that little spot there, folks, at the bottom in the middle? It kind of looks like it's all been disturbed. Yeah, right there. No, further down, further down. No. Oh, yes, right there. If you look directly to the right of that, you can see where he's driven through. No, that's actually the wetland.
Right. Coming back towards
No,
the
on
driveway,
a southeast.
right to the
Yeah,
driveway
yeah.
where it leads off the driveway. So
Yeah.
it's not even going down there.
Yeah. So,
Thank you.
good, awesome. All right. Great, thank you for that, Glenn. Anything else?
We'll continue on. It will be
Okay.
flagged during this season when, not that has been flagging wetlands since '86, that we're not gonna have a problem with leaves on the ground because we understand and know the dendrology of plants without leaves on them. That's our job.
All right, so is 10:30 good?
I'm sorry. I might
October
be
30th?
10:30?
Yeah.
Yes,
All right.
10:30, that's 10:30, 1 month. We plan on having an update, depending on Joe Levesque. These surveyors,
Okay.
as you know, they're like just like over their head.
Yeah.
We will have an update if we don't have even a partial pickup of the plans, but I'm hoping to have at least a partial or a full pickup of the wetland flags by then.
Okay.
We'll be working on it over this weekend, as long as we don't have half the weekend, as we just had 2.05 inches over this weekend.
All right, so, great. So before we get to the next item, Glenn, I'm going to take your next item out of order so that you're not waiting around. So can we get a motion to continue 2C, the enforcement order at 71R Minebrook, to October 30th, please?
I motion we continue 71R Minebrook till October 30th.
All right, so first with Commissioner Jewell, do we have a second?
Second.
And Commissioner Camerado with the second. Can I get a roll call? Commissioner Foley?
Yes.
Commissioner Jewell?
Yes.
Commissioner Camerado?
Yes.
Commissioner Parent?
Yes.
Commissioner Shivers?
Yes.
Commissioner Sharon?
Yes.
And Commissioner Wigglesworth is a yes. And now can we jump to the certificate of compliance? We're going to take this item out of order so that we don't have someone waiting for quite a while. So this is the certificate of compliance for DEP number 3230807, 47 Colonial, Leo Chanette, continued from 9/25. So, Dawn, you want to just give us an update because you visited the property, you've been talking with Glenn. Obviously, everything's been put into the system here.
So I had, sorry, I was trying to get this up for you. So I actually had been out to the property a few months back. And when I went out there, I had a brief conversation with Mr. Chanette in regards to the plan that I was looking at compared to what I was seeing at his property. Everything looked wonderful at his property, per the order of conditions, with the exception of some vegetation. Mr. Shinet and Mr. Grakowski wanted to review some of the back information. We've been going back and forth. I've been sending them meeting minutes, et cetera, et cetera. Come to find out that back when this project was first presented to the commission, I was not on board, but they're actually, the way it was saved in the file, it just made things a little complicated. Sorry, yeah, I always say your name wrong. But anyway, he sent, after they did their due diligence, there is this plan that I did later find in a different file for this property location, that had I seen this in the file at the time, it does say that the existing plantings are to be removed. So with that being said, we have received everything. Everything looks wonderful per the approved order of conditions, and I see no reason not to grant the certificate of compliance. I know Mr. Parent's probably going to possibly ask why there is not an as-built for this. At the time, just to answer it for you, that was not in the order of conditions and was not a requirement. So I could not ask for something that was not a requirement of the order of conditions. Not that you were going to ask, but
I was actually, but can you tell me structurally, is everything as?
it actually, everything was to a T besides those trees, and I picked up on it, and I know that that's important to the commission, but per this, which was amended and approved by the
Yes.
commission, it says existing plantings to be removed.
If maybe Commissioner Sharon, Commissioner Jewell maybe, and Commissioner Parent may remember sometime, probably about a year ago when we didn't have an agent, we did a site visit. And we went to this property, and if you remember, this property had a beautiful black iron fence in the back. And this person had used, Mr. Shinet had used almost like black pieces underneath the fence so that weeds didn't grow in the fence. That's the property. I have to say, it was sound and it was solid when we were there.
Very.
It's gorgeous. And it was done very well. There was didn't notice any erosion anywhere. Storm drains were connected. The plantings were good. He was just looking to stop the weeds from growing there, and I think he had a dog.
It really
So,
was.
Yeah.
Out of all of the site visits so far, this probably is one of the projects that
It was done to
listened
standard.
to everything to a T.
Yeah.
Like I said, besides when I questioned this, but even Mr. Kravowski had to do some digging and research. And like I said, back then, especially if there was not
Yeah,
an
the order of
agent,
conditions the general order of conditions was different back then. We changed it sometime around 2018, I think.
So I'm just saying. So I see no reason not to issue it because
Okay.
and they clarified that.
Any last comments, Glenn?
And some smart people know, don't talk when everything's good.
Right.
But this is one, so anyways, and also pervious paver. the
Yes,
whole thing,
yep.
So we want to bring that up, this whole
Yes.
thing. But just because Mr. Shinet, he has some medical issues, I will just read this into the record.
Sure.
Because I asked him to put this together for the board, so on 8/24/23, attention conservation. He's now talking about the conservation at the time, this is back in 2017. The plan was submitted to it's very brief, the plan was submitted to the Conservation Board in 2017 in an open meeting. The board did an on-site visit of the project, it was staked, flagged, and painted, outline on the ground. The plan was approved. The project was very closely monitored by commission. I understood because of a violation years prior by a hired contractor, the board Pierre Boutelier, I can tell you. The board was doing their job. When the project was done, Conservation Board came out, did a site visit, reviewed the project, that it implemented as per plan and approved that it was. I didn't write the letter, but that's his gist of saying it. And so just to put it in, that it was a heavily looked at project because of that previous wall, which is mentioned on this plan, existing retaining wall to be replaced with fieldstone wall. That was that original Pierre Boutelier walls he was building with the big concrete blocks.
Yes.
And there was some violation at the time. That's when I walked away from the project. I got involved in the project back in '05, '06. And then because of this problem, I said,
Yeah.
you guys have it. And then I was brought back in more recent times. Oh, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, any other any questions? Anything further? All right, hearing no further discussion, do we have a motion here for issuing a certificate of compliance for DEP number 323-0807, 47 Colonial Road?
I will make the motion for a certificate of compliance
Okay.
for 47 Colonial Road.
All right, so Commissioner Sharon with the first, do we have a second?
Second.
Commissioner Shivers with the second, and a roll call. Commissioner Foley?
Yes.
Commissioner Jewell?
Yes.
Commissioner Camerado?
Yes.
Commissioner Parent?
Yes.
Commissioner Shivers?
Yes.
Commissioner Sharon?
Yes.
All right, Commissioner Wigglesworth is a yes. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Glenn. And I'm sure we will see you soon.
My pleasure. Of
All right.
course. And I mean that everybody on the board is smart if I was
Thank
trying
you.
to look at anybody.
Yes, we
Stay in
got
good health,
some-
Glenn.
we got some new folks, so,
That's why you don't keep talking, exactly.
all right, thanks, Glenn.
Sorry about
Have a good
that.
night.
Thanks again and have a good evening. I
Okay,
appreciate
take
it.
care.
And
All
I did lose a tooth if you all look like anybody. You look
Oh.
like somebody from Tennessee. I'm only kidding. I mean, I'm up there. I mean, I fell out, I ate it, I couldn't find it.
Oh.
$7,000 later, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, good luck with that. All right, thank you, folks. All right, thank you. All right, so next up here, folks, we've got our public meetings, request for determination of applicability, RDAs, 21 Wakefield Ave. We were just looking for an updated plan, I believe.
Mr. Chairman, you were looking for a narrative of the
Oh, yes,
proposal
narrative, that's
and an
what it was, yep.
updated plan, which
Apologies,
Mr. Ellis has supplied both items. You wanted the hostas added, you wanted
Yep.
the little diagram with the north and his little scale,
All right, so we got the plan here.
and the narrative is
And
up
the
here.
narrative. Any questions, folks? 5 hostas, nothing further. And I had that discussion with him that going forward, any other work, he's going to need to file appropriately.
Yes, and
So-
he definitely agrees with that.
My only addition to this, I mean, this is an RDA, we had a discussion with him, but I would remind him, Don, that he does need to license his dock. Okay? Anything else? All right, hearing no discussion, do we have a motion to approve the RDA for shoreline, it's listed as shoreline erosion mitigation, but it was to mitigate eroding land adjacent to the roadway there. So we have a motion here.
I'll make a motion for 21 Wakefield Ave.
Okay. Commissioner Sharon with the first, and we have a second.
Second.
Commissioner Shivers with the second. And a roll call. Commissioner Foley?
Yes.
Commissioner Jewell?
Yes.
Commissioner Camerado?
Yes.
Commissioner Parent?
As a direct abutter, I abstain.
Thank you. So one abstention, and Commissioner Shivers?
Yes.
Commissioner Sharon?
Yes.
Commissioner Wigglesworth is a yes. Thank you very much. And public hearings, notices of intent, also known as NOIs. We've got 69 Colonial Road. David and Kathleen Arnold, demolition and rebuild of a family house, continued from 9/25. So, Mr. Sadowski, you are on.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, board members, and audience. My name is David Sadowski. I'm the principal of DJ and Associates, and I'm here before you concerning 69 Colonial Road. At our last meeting, it was asked that a specific section of the plan have a revision made to it. One thing was that there is 6 lolly columns, posts, that currently exist at the property. Those are gonna be removed, but the board was interested in seeing their location, having them drawn in. I think Mr. Parent suggested using circles where those lolly columns were. And then we were gonna replace those with 3, we'll call them piers, and those are gonna be dark circles. They were gonna come 3 feet approximately into the shoreline, and that was gonna get them above the 480 elevation, so they wouldn't be under Chapter 91, and they wouldn't be under state jurisdiction, because we'd be out of the 100-year floodplain of a great pond. So we have marked up that area where those 3 will go, and we showed the 6 lower circles. I also sent some pictures along too, along with the plan. You can see here, well, I don't know if you, can you see this? You can see the lolly columns down there along, there's a pathway. And you can see how the grade rises if you go 3 feet in, into that area there. I also, when I was standing this from the other side, I separate them out to show them a little bit better. They mask them with boards so they look like they're a post if you're on the water going by in a boat. I actually was wearing the muck boots that you use for wetlands, and I was able to take some pictures from the water too.
Great.
This was before we had all the rains. But that shows, you can see there's a post there, it's only on blocks. Over here it's on a piece of metal that's on something. Everything that's a support down below that's into the bank will be left there to maintain the structural integrity of that banking. What will happen though is by taking these 6 out, there's a shot to the one. By taking these 3 out of here, or excuse me, by taking these 6 out of here, that bank will go back to natural, so that it'll allow nesting of whatever amphibians want to go there that come in and out of the water. We'll be moving our posts back, and that can all become natural in that area. There's a 6-inch tree in that area. That's to remain. The building is not supposed to be expanded beyond its envelope. And that will be one of the safeguards. By leaving that tree there, then you know it couldn't have expanded out into the water because the tree's still there. You know, we take a picture and show how it is now, and take a picture later. And obviously, the tree's not gonna grow within 2 weeks or whatever, so it would have to be in the same spot. We did what was asked, and I wasn't even asked. This is the plan here. You can see the 3 dark circles. They each have an arrow aiming to them. When it says the 3 helical piles are to replace the 6 lolly columns. Lolly column posts, you know, the existing basins remain in place. And then up on the right-hand side, you can see note number 2 talks about the 3 helical piles to replace the 6 existing, 3 piles to be installed, and a rebuilt porch, and a cantilever. It talks about notes specifically for this type of an operation. So that part of the plan was also revised to reflect the circles being drawn like they were.
David, I had one question. There was a picture when I was looking at it. I think Don showed it for a quick moment. One of his pictures, and it looked like there was a pipe that runs laterally.
Yep, that one right there, Don. There's a pipe. Yep.
I don't.
Well,
Yes,
it's
yeah.
probably
What is
probably
that?
rainwater.
Oh, it ends.
It's not even embedded, it's an extra.
Got it. Okay.
Could be a brace.
Yeah. No, I didn't.
You can see what he was able to do was, as it would settle, he would just go out there and crank the lolly column and bring the building back up.
Yeah.
I mean, basically, a
Yeah.
1940 build. This is what they did.
All right, folks, so
But I think the pictures really helped.
it does. Thank you very
know,
much. Yeah.
By seeing exactly what's supporting it now compared to what's gonna be put in when you dial, you drive 3 posts instead of those 6. And then that area will be allowed to go back to what it was maybe before before the Lally columns were there.
And, Don, can you zoom in? A little more, yeah, right over there. Just notice where that 480 mark rides along. Just saying. Where the 480 mark goes along.
Yeah.
That wraps the whole point.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
You can see
Okay.
the 3 dark circles
So-
now are above the 480.
Joey, where's
so
the
the-
floodplain on this, given it's right next door to the other place? Is there a floodplain in here?
Well, that's what I was saying. See the
Okay.
480?
Yeah.
And you can see the wall next door, where the 480 is and how it runs along the contour. So,
I was just being dumb.
and the erosion controls are here, and you've got 2 sets of erosion controls you're planning, right?
Correct.
Great, okay.
To be fair, we really didn't continue topography off-site on.
Oh, yeah, no, you're,
I
to
mean,
stick
that-
to this,
That's like a tail of the wall.
Yep.
Let me just stand up. This last piece that goes over towards 67 over here.
Yep.
These are just extended a little bit further out. We
Oh,
really
yeah.
didn't shoot topography. And to be fair, there should be an accurate survey done in that area showing elevations stamped by a registered professional landscaper.
yep,
That's really what should happen in that wall area.
so,
I think it's an excellent idea you had of
But-
taking the round wall, moving it back 4 or 5 feet, establishing some natural bank, and then building the blocks up.
thank
And then
you.
let that cove, like the scientist Richards talked about, become part of the next. The only problem is there still is some stone and some wood chips that are in between that wouldn't connect the 2 water pockets, but at least they would be in the same area.
So, folks, anything else on this particular project? Any other
I
questions,
did,
comments?
I did had one more comment, and David, this is just for you to think about. There's a lot of stone that's being removed from this project, and I was thinking later after we met, I wondered if any consideration, or is the board concerned about erosion from like the wave action onto that bank, and if maybe some of the stone that's coming off of that, off the foundation, if there's any idea that just, stacking it up there might sort of protect what's there, you know what I'm saying?
Well,
Or are we getting into the 480?
You're kind of,
I
you're
know,
starting
we
to,
can't-
you can't disturb it. I would just leave it all,
I got
leave
it.
it all as,
thought so
as
too, but-
is. And this is a very particular, this is a glacial outwash deposit. And that's why I'm kind of curious as to how this, once this starts getting taken apart, because it's so much, it's a rocky soil, sand, silt. There's not much, so I'd be curious to find out how it,
through the chair,
But-
I am a soil scientist too.
yeah.
I really feel that in some instances, to take the flat Connecticut fieldstone and lay them along the bank so that it would mitigate any type of a wave action, that cove further down that way doesn't really have the high velocity the rest of the lake has.
Yeah,
So and that bank in those pictures that were there, that's been there for at least 6 decades. And everything is thriving along there and it's not getting washed out or anything else. I think if we leave the structural integrity alone like it is, it's aesthetically pleasing the way it is.
Yeah.
You take,
Yep.
they put those boards up there to make them look like posts, but they're really lolly columns hidden behind them. And, just let the 3 helicals go in behind it and let them support and hold up the porch. It'll let that whole banking system regenerate itself.
I wouldn't, if anything, I would just dig little holes and pop vegetation in places, but that's something that we can write into the conditions, but the bank is to be left
Purchase a couple
natural.
salamanders and let them start nesting.
My last question before we wrap this up is, are you going to file for the dock on a separate date?
I already have. I have a
Okay,
hearing scheduled for the
fantastic, all
30th.
right, because you're going to see that in the conditions that within, you're
And I've
supposed to
also
within.
filed with planning board just to show them as part of the
Terrific.
requirement planning and zoning.
Okay, all right, so that's in the
And
pipeline.
the newspaper came back, placed the ad.
All right, so we're moving in the right direction on that one. Any other comments on this before we open it up to the public? Okay, so with that, is there anyone here as a public meeting on comments? Any comments, Don? No? Okay. All right. Motion to close the public hearing, please.
I motion we close the public hearing.
All right, Commissioner Jewell with the first and a second.
Second?
All right, Commissioner Camerado with the second, and a roll call, Commissioner Foley,
Yes.
Commissioner Jewell,
Yes.
Commissioner Camerado,
Yes.
Commissioner Parent,
Yes.
Commissioner Shivers,
Yes.
Commissioner Sharon,
Yes.
Commissioner Wigglesworth is a yes. Motion to issue order of conditions with special conditions for 69 Colonial Road.
I'll make a motion that we approve the plan as written, and for 69 Colonial Road,
And issue order of
and issue order of conditions by staff.
Okay, so we've got a motion from Commissioner Parent as the first. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Commissioner Sharon with the second, and a roll call. Commissioner Foley,
Yes.
Commissioner Jewell,
Yes.
Commissioner Camerado,
Yes.
Commissioner Parent,
Yes.
Commissioner Shivers,
Yes.
Commissioner Sharon,
Yes.
Commissioner Wigglesworth is a yes. All right, so Dave, thank you very much, and we'll see you soon for,
Thank you very much for your time. I
For
know
that.
you're all volunteers.
yes, thank you. We
I say it
appreciate
to everybody, you know, but it's the truth.
We
You know,
appreciate it.
Without volunteers, they're the backbone of protecting what we have for resources.
And we appreciate the job that you did. I think you did a wonderful job and a very,
Yes, you did.
really,
Yeah.
really good job.
No, you did. Thank you.
I would hire you.
Yes.
Well, you know, the thing is, since I own the company, you know, if I hear something at night, I can go there the next morning and do it right away, and then I go home that night, I'm gonna go home tonight and work till midnight, and just finish something up, you know, and then if you get up and do it again.
Well, we appreciate your attention to detail on that,
It's
Dave.
tougher with bigger companies because, oh yeah, it's tougher with bigger companies because they send probably the lowest guy on the totem pole to come before the board, you know, unless you have a consultant. And then he doesn't give the right, then they have to view it on video, and then they have to schedule the field crew, and then
Yeah.
the field crew's gotta bring in, then someone's gotta do it in the office, and someone, you know,
All right, folks.
it's just nice to, do all the hats.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, so 46 West Point Road, as we know, there was concern of the retaining wall there. And I did receive a phone call from the representative of Jason Tubo over the weekend, but I was in northern Vermont and was enjoying the foliage and quintessential New England. So I did not speak with Danny Berthium. Has he contacted the office?
He has not. I did send
Okay.
him out an email, but as of when I came up here, I had not received a response.
Okay. In all honesty, he may not even know that we have a new agent, and he may still think that I'm the agent, so. But I would say that let's continue this out till the 30th, and I would assume that we will have a plan and something, because there's, building department is now involved in this because it's a structural problem. So I'm sure that the folks are paying attention to what needs to get done there. So, so can we get a motion to 10:30 for 46 West Point? And a continuance, rather. But before that, Don, can you just check to find out when the original application for this project came in? And after, I believe in the regs, after a year of continuing and not having any response or playing the phone tag thing, I think that the notice, we can ask for a new notice of intent. But, I mean, then again, why do that? Because he's going to be submitting the plans that we haven't even gotten yet, so. But I just want to mention that to folks, that there is a clause in the wetlands Protection Act, that we can just say, all right, it's after a year now, and file a new one.
So now I stamp them in, but this says 10/19/2022, and I can tell you the first meeting that they actually attended was, let me tell you,
Is it 11/7?
no, I believe, hold on.
Remember he came in with his dog and Joey said, I think his name was Joey, sat down on the floor.
I didn't, where is it?
Meeting
I did
minutes.
make a copy of it. I believe it was 12,
Okay. All right, it's in,
hold on.
I mean, it's
I
in,
believe
it's
it
in
was
transit, so we don't need to cause a
12/7.
headache.
We have 11/7 meeting minutes in his record, so
Yeah.
that seems the most likely.
We
12/16
we may
agent
have-
review.
Yeah.
I don't think he was there. Oh, yeah. Yeah, there it is.
Okay, yeah.
Sorry, I had Tracy scan it today. That's why I didn't
Yeah,
have
we
my hard
formally
copy.
opened it on, all right, so we've got some,
But that
we've got
was
some
the-
time, but he needs to come in and at least
But
update
that
us
was
as to
the
where things
only
are at.
meeting
And
he has attended. Every other one has been
yeah, he was
continued.
waiting for Zachary Glass to get a plan, but, and I remember talking with him about that when he had that wall fail on that corner. And I went out there and looked at it, and I said, I did an emergency order, an emergency approval for him to at least fix the wall or put something, a turbidity curtain or whatnot in there, so. But anyway, we'll talk about what's going on with this when he finally gets in touch with us, so. With that, can we get a motion of continuance for 46 West Point, the Tubo project, to October 30th?
I'll make a motion to continue 46 West Point Road to October 30th.
Okay, and do we have a second?
I second.
Commissioner Jewell? Commissioner Jewell with the second, and a roll call. Commissioner Foley?
Yes.
Commissioner Jewell?
Yes.
Commissioner Camerado?
Yes.
Commissioner Parent?
Yes.
Commissioner Shivers?
Yes.
Commissioner Sharon?
Yes.
Commissioner Wigglesworth is a yes. All right. Jackson Road, Lot C, this is Nick Hopkins' project, construction of a single-family dwelling, driveway, retaining wall, infiltration system, and connects to utilities. They have requested a continuance to 10/30. So can we get a motion of continuance for Jackson Road, Lot C, to 10:30, please?
I'll make a motion to continue Jackson Road Lot C to October 30th.
All right, Commissioner Sharon with the first, we have a second.
Second.
Commissioner Shivers with the second, and a roll call. Commissioner Foley?
Yes.
Commissioner Jewell?
Yes.
Commissioner Camerado?
Yes.
Commissioner Parent?
Yes.
Commissioner Shivers?
Yes.
Commissioner Sharon?
Yes.
Commissioner Wigglesworth is a yes. And our almost last item, cease and desist for 149 South Shore Road. This is Arthur Winship III is the owner, filling in the wetlands and dumping sand, continued from 9/25/23. This is cease and desist. Have we had any response?
So I have not received any response from Mr. Winship and the third. I also tracked the certified mailing numbers, and neither of them have been picked up as of yet or successfully delivered.
Okay, so we've got two options. We can continue this out to the 30th and wait to see if there is a connection with us, or we can authorize our agent to issue or send the letter via a constable.
How many times have we made an overture?
Hmm?
How many times have we made an overture?
I can't hear you.
How many times have we made an overture for this gentleman?
How many what?
3.
Letters, 3?
Oh, 3. Yeah, this would be the third. This is, someone's not picked, we did the
That
same
is not
thing
picked
with another violator that's on the agenda, where after you know,
Hundreds, yeah, okay.
you know, and we eventually ended up issuing, you know, via constable. Some commissions, that's the only way they do it.
No, that's what I
So,
think we should do.
So, Mr. Chairman, so we had sent out the original cease and desist, Robin, and then after the meeting where Mr. Winship III had to leave, we sent out another certified mailing the day after the meeting, and then the day after that. But unfortunately, there's only 6 days between these meetings, so, you know, it doesn't give much time for somebody to get that letter,
so-
especially if they work and they're chasing the post office trying to get,
Thank you for saying that.
pick
Then
up.
why don't we wait till the 30th?
I just want to give him enough.
That's a good idea.
You know,
Yeah, me too.
I'm in that same boat, like, you know, we've been meeting week after week, and I want to thank everyone for that, number one, you know, with the high school and so forth. You know, it'll start to calm down, knock on wood, a little bit as we get into the cooler season, so my recommendation would be to, let's motion a continuance on this until the 30th, and then make a decision as to the next steps. And hopefully in 3 weeks, someone gets in touch with us. So,
Yeah, because that's another issue, like the beg for forgiveness one, is there's a lot of fill being used in this fall. A lot of fill, and I've heard it from a club I belong to, and I said it's illegal. Well, everybody else is doing it. So I think you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, so I took a drive out there as well, and I thought it was rather impactful. My only concern about stretching this out to the 30th is if we're truly looking for mitigation on this.
it wouldn't, it
Is there an
wouldn't
impact?
happen this season.
Okay,
I mean, unless, you know,
that's fair too.
you're going, but we, you know, we wanted to discuss mitigation issues with this, and I'm sure the abutters are still probably contacting, but there's a significant abutter concern, because there is a narrow way. But anyway,
I do have a feeling if anything additional had been taking place, the same person that has called me 3 times would have been calling me and sending me more emails with
Yeah.
pictures.
Okay.
Just by the way, you know, when things were so it seems like once he got the first cease and desist notice, I haven't heard from the complainant.
okay, so we've got an issue, the facts are, we've got an issue, we sent a cease and desist, and we now need Mr. Winship to come before us and discuss the problem. So we'll continue this until October 30th, the police station. So do I have a motion for continuance, please?
I move that we continue cease and desist one at 149 South Shore Road.
To 10:30?
Oh, yeah, to October
Okay.
30th, 2023.
That's all right. All right, so Commissioner Shivers with the motion to continue 149 South Shore Road to 10:30. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Commissioner Parent with the second, and a roll call. Commissioner Foley?
Yes.
Commissioner Jewell?
Yes.
Commissioner Camerado?
Yes.
Commissioner Parent?
Yes.
Commissioner Shivers?
Yes.
Commissioner Sharon? Yes. Commissioner Wigglesworth is a yes. All right, and draft meeting minutes for September 25th need to be continued to 10:30. So can we get a motion on that, please?
I move that we postpone the draft meeting minutes, to October 30th, 2023.
Okay, so Commissioner Shivers with the continuance for the meeting minutes of September 25th to October 30th. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Commissioner Sharon with the second, and a roll call. Commissioner Foley?
Yes.
Commissioner Jewell?
Yes.
Commissioner Camerado?
Yes.
Commissioner Parent?
Yes.
Commissioner Shivers?
Yes.
Commissioner Sharon?
Yes.
Commissioner Wigglesworth is a yes. And any item for the staff report, Dawn?
The only staff report item is that right before I came upstairs, I did receive an email from Chief Shaw
Okay.
stating that the community room was available for our October 30th meeting. So that meeting will be next door on October 30th. it's listed on your agenda as TBD because I had not gotten confirmation as of yet.
All right, so commissioners and the public, our next meeting date is October 30th, 2023, in the Webster Police Station Community Room. With that, can I get a motion of adjournment at 7:35? Commissioner Parent with the first, and do we have a second? Commissioner
Second.
Sharon? And roll call, Commissioner Foley?
Yes.
Commissioner Jewell? Commissioner Camerado?
Yes.
Commissioner Parent?
Yes.
Commissioner Shivers?
Yes.
Commissioner Sharon?
Yes.
Commissioner Wigglesworth is a yes. Please shut off your mics, and if you can bring them